All right, welcome back to Classroom Brew. This is the podcast that feels a lot like Teacher Happy Hour. We just happen to be recording it. This is episode 151. I hope you guys did enjoy the little bonus episode from last week. If you didn't check that out, you got to head on over to patreon.com/classroombrew. You can also get other bonus content and podcast merch. Now, for this week, I know on that episode I said we were going to do that survey about opening the schools that the district sent me, but we've actually got a surprise guest on this one, and it is none other than Mr. Joe D. Mr. D. Dombrowski.
I'm a
Joe?
surprise. Hey, everyone. Okay, and I also want to encourage everybody, since the name of the podcast is Classroom Brew, and this is episode 151, I encourage you to take a shot of 151, no chaser, and try not to vomit. That's my challenge.
Yeah. I love it. We got to start doing challenges for stuff. We'll just make Malort the challenge every single week.
Yeah, and hopefully not like exploit everybody's alcoholism.
Right,
no big deal.
So the last time, and we actually talked about it a little bit on your podcast, which is called Social Studies with Joe Mr. D. Dombrowski. We talked about the last time that you were on mine and how like I didn't hit record right away, so the first 2 minutes of audio are all messed up and things like that. But at the time, you were just starting your transition from, being a teacher. I think you had dropped to like part-time or something like that, but you were focusing on the comedy career, kind of like what I think Devin Siebold is doing now, where he's like, the kids aren't sure if he's like their full-time teacher or not because he's on the road so much. But since then, some things have happened. So where are things at right now with like the teaching career versus like the comedy career? Because that's been taken off. And like, what's the update on that since then?
Okay, let's backtrack. So that teachers are, I can't think of the word, poor. You know that, right? So all during my teaching career, I was a teacher for almost 10 years. My second job was being a stand-up comic, along with a slew of other things. I was also a cycle instructor.
Really?
So,
like the guy that's like motivating and like up, down, up, down, up, down.
Bitches, work that ass. Yeah, that was me. So, so I did a lot of slew of things for money, but my favorite was comedy, and I always did comedy, and it was literally fun, creative, and it put like gas in my tank, and I would have some extra dollars to, chip in and buy lunch when the rest of the staff would want to go out, because they didn't, you didn't have a lot of money. Teachers don't have a lot of money, especially a single teacher, and a teacher within the first 5 years is even lower. So I needed to do something else, and I did comedy, and it was amazing. And slowly, it started to pick up locally. So I had a little bit of a name. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to go by Joey D when I was on stage because, historically I'm Joey. Like if you're like an OG friend from high school, from elementary school to college, you know me as Joey, and my family exclusively calls me Joey.
Okay.
And then Dombrowski, the school knew me as Mr. D. So I just combined the two and I went as Joey D, and that was my stage name, which I sort of regret not keeping. But yeah, so I was Joey D. And I sort of worked up this local name in Detroit as Joey D, the comic, blah, blah, blah. And then it blew the fuck up and it went nuts with my viral spelling test video and then the appearances on Ellen and whatnot. And then I continued to write. And then I had completed my 1 hour, you call it your hour in comedy. I completed my 1 hour show and I had the opportunity to take it on the road. And I think it was show 5 of my first ever U.S. tour was in Chicago, which is when you and I met when we recorded.
Right.
So
this was Indoor Recess, right? That's what it was called?
Indoor Recess, yeah. And that was interesting because I was actually still teaching full-time at that time. So to be teaching full-time and on the road full-time was pretty chaotic. I was taking a lot of Fridays off so I could tour for the weekend, then coming back to Seattle, teaching all week, then going back on the road to whatever city to do more shows. And I was doing that every single weekend. Right. And it was a dream. But then I had to come to terms with like multiple things. And one of them was, the biggest one obviously was like, am I doing a disservice to the students and their families? I'm gone a lot. I have a public presence here. am I doing a disservice to what I should actually be giving them? And my principal was like very point blank with me, and it was awesome. I didn't take this the wrong way at all, but she said, I think you're a good teacher, and I haven't seen your comedy, but I'm pretty sure you're a good comic. But you can't be great at either one of those things until you
Sure.
put all of your time and focus into one,
Yeah.
and you got to talk from the heart. You know what? This opportunities for comedy is never going to come again, but you can never take away my teaching degrees. And
The principal said this?
I said that to
Or, oh,
her.
you had this as the
Yeah.
gotcha. I was like, wow,
And
that's a
she's,
very like
yeah,
inspirational boss.
yeah. And, but she agreed. And she was like, I think that's awesome. And I wish you nothing but the best. And we left on great terms. She knocked me a little bit on one of my evaluations, but whatever.
We won't judge it. Yeah.
Yeah. But now, being out of the classroom, I feel like more than ever, I can really do what I've always wanted to do in comedy, which is be like this uninhibited voice for education and tells you the true, real, messed up stuff that goes on through
Yeah.
the lens, through the filter of comedy. So I
Right.
think when you see my show, I wrote it for all people. It's not just for teachers.
Hmm.
You see the show, you laugh, and then when you get back in your car, you can think about, holy shit, teachers really go through that. And this is really what it's like in the field of education. And I feel like I can use this voice to talk about teaching, and not have to worry about losing my job, like most
Yeah.
teachers
Yeah.
probably
They've
do.
got nothing on you. Yeah.
Right. And not have to worry about like insulting the parents and what they might report me or whatever it is,
Right.
or anything like that, because I can tell the truth about how corrupt public education in America truly is now, and I don't have a target on my back anymore, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing a greater good now than I did when I was in the classroom, because I feel like I'm inspiring more teachers to be themselves, and to like speak up against these things and to work hard to make change in education. And I think I'm inspiring people who are not teachers to support public education and to uh, continue a legacy of greatness within public education, and rethink the funding, and all those things that are true about education. And I can't sit here and tell you that it doesn't feel amazing, because it is the best feeling in the world.
Right. Well, especially because I've seen you like you can continue to expand. Like you had like Rosebud Baker on. Like you're also getting like input from all these other people, which is incredible. Have you kind of noticed yourself like because like as you're removed more and more from the teaching world, and you have like if you do have a comedian on like Rosebud or something like that, where do you like portion out like the education versus just general like let's talk about stuff? Like are you kind of shifting away from it? Is it still present? Like if someone were to come to a show in like 1 or 2 years, how much of it is going to be similar to like your teaching element stuff versus like this is me as a comedian making observations about the world in a funny way?
Dude, that was a great question. And I have to be honest with you, I think I've been wanting to answer that. Um, the truth behind comedy is it's all about like your life pattern, and it's all about like what you've gone through in life that has created the way that you think. And the
Mhm.
past 10 years of my life has been spent in education, and that is a decade of my existence of who I was. And I think that it will always come back to teaching in some way, shape, or form. But I also say, if you're to see my show in 5 years, what is it going to be? I don't know, but I can tell you all these life experiences that I'm going to be talking about that I haven't even touched on yet because they haven't happened. I haven't gotten married yet. I don't have kids yet, but I can tell you when I do, the fuckery that happens with those are going to be in the show, you know? So it's all about, becoming talking about the patterns of life. And I've only done one show. One hour show is all that I've written so far. I have a lot of jokes that I can build these other shows on. There's so much in education that I still haven't talked about that I probably always will.
Oh, sure.
But
Yeah.
the one thing that I say to other comics, because sometimes comics are kind of like, oh, you're the teacher comic, or you're teacher comedian. They have to put that adjective before comic. And it's like, no, I'm a comic just like you, but I have this life experience that I can talk about, that I will talk about, that I will make funny. And you can't take away the fact that I am a teacher and was one. You can never take that away from me. And I
Right.
will always kind of be, an advocate for teachers, even if it's not like right in your face with the comedy that I'm presenting to you. I will always look out for them and amplify their voices and help change education for what it is
Yeah,
mainly through their lens of comedy.
absolutely. Well, and especially because when you talk about the way that you develop and things like that, well, first off, you have backlogs and stuff like that. Uh, but we also know what's going to happen like in the current times. Like we have all this stuff during Corona, and you, as someone that was a teacher and is now a comic too, you have that thing to deal with too. Like you have all these different experiences. Do you ever get like backlash from that? Like if you go into something as a comic, you're going to deal with hecklers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in as a teacher comic, I'd imagine you might get some backlash even still from people that maybe they weren't like your students' parents, but do you still get some of those? You would call them Karens, I guess, like that are angry about something that you make.
Yeah, I do. And I'm fine with it. Like, I'm great with hecklers because, I was trained for 10 years with 30 hecklers sitting in front of me for 5 hours a day in the classroom. It's just like what makes you better. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I think a lot of the time, especially when I do like pop up shows or I just go to the club and like work out new material, things like that, and it's not necessarily my fans rather than it's just a general audience that I'm here to make you laugh.
Sure.
Sometimes there'll be somebody in there who's like, teacher shouldn't be talking like this. And I'm like, who says who? You? Because I'm not fucking listening to your ass. Like, you know what I mean? And then I just do my thing, and usually the majority of people are into it. But I mean, that's inevitable for all comics, right? Like all comics are gonna have people who are into it and people who are not. And like you and I even talked about this on my pod. You a comics who is into that specific comic is that comic's fan.
Right.
You can be a fan of comedy and not be a fan of specific comedians, and that's fine. It's just like you don't resonate with those stories and you don't connect with their tale, whatever it is. And I think that's more than acceptable for everyone. I can't
Right.
say that this comic isn't funny because I'm not into it. It's not for me. But like people can say that about me, or they can join me and be super into it. It is what it is.
Sure. Now, and speaking of fans of comics too, um, you were so like Ellen was like a big thing that like helped you like really jettison up in your career and stuff.
Say it was
How do you
big is probably an understatement.
how do you feel about like all the stuff that's going on with Ellen right now? Because like apparently like cancel culture class of 2020 is going after everybody, but like apparently Ellen now too. Is that a
Mhm.
thing? Like, have you like heard anything about that, or like, are you
Yeah,
do you subscribe or?
I've been reading a lot of it too, and it seems like it's kind of I don't think it's a right now thing. It's kind of been happening for a few years, and
Hmm.
I people ask me about this a lot, and all I have to say is it's not my experience. My experience with her was nothing but exceptionally positive, and she went
Hmm.
out of her way to make me comfortable and give me advice. She even like off when we were off camera, she turned to me and she's like, hey, I heard you're a comedian. And I was like, yeah, I am. She's like, you're really funny. You should do something with that. And I was like, holy shit, holy shit. Like one of these comic idols that I adore just told me to continue with comedy. Like that was huge, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
We had multiple interactions like that on my time on when I was on the show a couple times. And I do not have the experience of her being nasty as the media is trying to go after her right now.
Which, by the way, is that's probably my favorite answer to anybody that's responding to like, what do you think about this? Because I think everybody is trying to like make some like they want the perfect answer, right? Or they want to agree with what the status quo is. And I think that just saying like, hey, here's what I experienced, it was not that. Well, one, no one can really go after that. But two, it's the most authentic answer that you can give, which I think we need more of that. So
I,
that's good.
yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like you could say that about any person, right? Like I am generally a happy, easygoing guy who doesn't really give fucks. But like, have I snapped at people? For sure. Why? Because I'm a human. And I'm
Right.
allowed to be a human. You know what I mean? But I don't think that necessarily would make me a bad person. But I guess
Sure.
if you're as high profile as her with such a happy demeanor, people, for whatever reason, are probably like looking to take her down if they can, which
Oh
is,
yeah.
their own baggage.
Well, and like she said on her special, she's like she can't even like why does she have a car horn? Like she can't honk at somebody when she's driving because like she's Ellen. Like can't do that. But
Yep.
so this was something that I found this morning, and it made me think of
Uh-huh.
you instantly because uh, well I'll just send it to you. It's a T-shirt that I think if you haven't bought it by now, I'm gonna have to get it for you. So I just sent it to you in a text. I'll put it up on the screen for people that are watching in. But you are kind of known as the plant daddy, yes? Like this is kind of one of your nicknames.
Yeah, I am. I'm waiting for the t-shirt to come in.
So it's this awesome shirt, and I don't want to spoil it till you see it, but let's see.
Oh, there it is.
I wet my plants. Which reminds me, you be proud. I have two of the, hopefully the lowest maintenance plants ever. 2 ferns that were outdoor ferns that are now indoor ferns.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You just said a total contradiction. Ferns are notoriously extremely difficult to take care
They
of. So
are?
what kind of ferns are they?
Oh, I don't even know that much. I'd have to ask.
I'm gonna go
They
ahead
are?
and guess it's a Boston fern. Yeah,
I
and
think so.
one of the reasons why I think it's doing well is because you're in Chicago and it's summer right now, and you're extremely humid, and ferns love humidity, so that's probably why.
Yeah. I say we're spritzing them and everything. And when I went
There
to
you
the
go.
store to buy the spritzer, by the way, it was one of those ones with the fan from like Six Flags looking things. And they were like, "Do you want a regular one?" And I was like, "Oh, you have those?" Like that's what we wound up getting. But
That's awesome. After this, I want to see pictures of those ferns.
okay, I'll send you those two in addition to the I wet my plants link
I
or whatever.
love that. I do have a shirt that says Plant Daddy, which I wear proudly still.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great shirt. So on your podcast, which is social studies, we did a what would you do type of thing. And so because for a little while there, you were also subbing, I saved one. So we did the one with the throwing chairs on yours, but I saved one that was specific to substitute teachers
Oh,
because
Christ.
I have a write-up. It's one of my favorite ones ever, mostly
Hit
because I
me.
wasn't there. If I were there, I would probably dread it. But this was my policy with subs is if the sub writes something down, I put it in. I'm going to take their word for it unless I hear otherwise from an adult, especially if I know the kid and it's kind of a thing. So this is kind of like a what would you do? Let's go with like you in the, we'll just bump the mic, you in the shoes of the substitute, not so much in my shoes. So if you were actually there handling it.
Got it.
Now for this sub, the way that they handled it was they wrote a note and, well, we'll see. I don't want to spoil too much.
Oh, God. Okay.
All right. So this is, and what I did is I just kind of wrote down exactly what the sub said. And then I said, please assign a consequence for this. It says most students stuck around. Students A and B, I replaced their last names, took off. When I say took off, what I mean is we are on the 2nd floor. However, there is a fire escape outside of Mr. F's room, which is true. Students A and B refused to stay in the classroom. When I said, please take a seat, they said, nope, proceeded to open the window and exit out the fire escape.
I have to tell you something before I answer. What would I do? I did that as a student.
Did you really?
Except I was in 4th grade and I jumped out the window. It was a 1st floor window.
Okay. You had me nervous there. I mean, you lived, but
yeah, I jumped out of the window because and it was a substitute, actually. We had a substitute, and I told the substitute I forgot to feed my dog, and she wouldn't let me go home. So I jumped out of the window and walked home.
Was it true about the feeding the dog, though?
I don't remember that. I just remember the excitement of like doing whatever I wanted, which I got my karma. Okay, so what would I do in this situation? Okay, Ryan, I got to be honest with you. I'm the substitute teacher. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to go chasing after you. I'm going to report it. I might call the office and be like, hey, these kids left. You should probably do something about that. I'm not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Like, as a substitute teacher, I sort of had that mentality of like, if you work in the mall and somebody steals something from your store, you just kind of say, hey, don't do that. Come back. And then you're like, well, they're gone. Hopefully a mall cop gets them. I'm not fucking doing it. So that's what I would have called the office. Yeah, I would have called the office and been like, these kids just left. They went down the fire escape. It was this one and this one. And I'm just going to keep going with movie day in here.
With movie day, the best day. Right. Or as some people like to call it, incentive day. That's a better terminology.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I would do. What did you do?
For that one, luckily, since I wasn't there, it was just the sub. I just wrote it in, and I think they had in school for like a day or something like that. These were 2 kids that were kind of notorious for pulling this kind of stuff. So it was just kind of like it's been a month since they've done it. So it's about that time. And there they were.
Oh God. The shit see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like if I didn't tell tales like this on stage, non-teachers would not understand that this is what we do.
Right. Oh, every day. Well, and you told me about so for the what would you do on your podcast? I went through and I got a bunch of write ups and things like that. And the one that I chose was like more like it's kind of a banger, but like not too intense, of course. It's a good crossover for like elementary versus high school. But like there were some of them where I was laughing because not that I wrote it particularly funny. I was very serious about it, but like just being political about some like this one that I have pulled up here, where it's like some kid thought that they were talking about him. And so he responded to them saying, like, this girl was being told that her friend said that she was a nasty ass, and the kid thought he was being called the nasty ass. So he responds with, like, fuck you, goofy ass looking ass. Gotcha. At least I have my edges. Like, these are the things that they're saying to each other. And in the moment, you're like, all right, let me write this down in a professional manner as he's talking about his edges. And
Oh
those
my
are,
God. You know what I always used to do? In elementary, they always come up, they're like, oh, he said a bad word. Or they'll say, he said a B word. He said the F word. And I think one of the funniest things is when a little kid swears. And I have no problem. I'd always be like, what word was it? And they'd be like, the F word. I'm like, there are so many words that start with F. You're going to have to tell me. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes. And it was always so funny because either they would be like, I can't do it. Or they just be like, fuck. He said fuck. The word he said was fuck. Mr. D, did you hear me? Did you hear what I said? It was Fuck, fuck. And they just keep going. Oh, funny story. Quick little ADHD tangent. A kindergartner came up to me. You know that song, Uptown Funk You Up?
yeah. Oh,
I don't even
God.
remember who sang it. Was it? I want to say
Bruno,
Bruno
right?
Mars. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Bruno Mars.
Bruno.
When that song was really popular, a kindergartner came up to me out of nowhere and was like, Mr. D, I just want to let you know that song says Uptown Funk You Up, not fuck. And I was like, well, thank you for clarifying.
Now I know.
Now I'm aware. And I'll be sure to tell everyone that you told me.
He's
Yeah.
actually like a publicist for Bruno. That is like the best thing when a kid swear or like when they whisper
So
it.
funny.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, or even better in like in the lower grades, it'll be like they said the P word, and it's like, what was it? And they're like, I don't even. Oh shit! The only words that I can think of P are actually bad, so we'll go with the D word. And they're like, what is it? And they're like, darn it! And you're like, terrible! How dare they?
Right. I love it. Kids are fun. That's especially my niece and nephew are at like, well, she's almost at talking age. He's at talking age, and the funniest shit ever. But
Always.
so I guess last little thing. This is something that I did. I'm not going to tell you what my result was, but this was a quiz that I found, and it says, "Which teacher from pop culture are you?" And this is
I
based
already know
on.
your results.
Oh, you listened to that one?
Yeah, I did.
Which I had to watch it. I had never seen it. Like it's
That
from the
blew
same
my
era.
mind. Okay, you're 27.
27.
Yeah, I'm 31. We're not that far apart in age. I was shocked that you never heard of Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
I mean, I had known like Fresh Prince and like Everybody Loves Raymond, but like that's really it from my my sitcoms. But I watched a few. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Right. It's not bad. It's not bad.
I feel like you have to if you have the nostalgia for it, it's got a little more weight to
Yes.
it.
Yes.
But I figured let's see, when you were actually like the first guest we've had in a while because like all the, COVID stuff going on. But I figured well, it's I think like 5 or 6 questions and we'll see what comes up.
This is so wild, Ryan, because I almost asked you to do this to me on my podcast. So
Oh,
I'm
for real?
like, yeah, I'm elated. Yes, I wanted to know. But on your episode of your podcast, you specifically said like, oh, I don't even remember where I found this. I was like, oh, he probably doesn't even have it. Let's just go with a different idea. But yay, we got it. Let's do it.
And actually, I think I had my head down for like a couple seconds. I was like, oh, it might be in my history. And it was.
Hell yeah.
I don't use my phone enough, I guess. All right. So, first question it says, or maybe it's not from who are you as a student. Anyways, it says, your student asks you if they can go to the bathroom in the middle of a lesson. Your response is, make them get the hall pass that is attached to the comically large pencil. Tell them to put their hand down and go to the bathroom whenever they need. Sign a quick hall pass for them. When they have to go, they have to go. This shouldn't happen in my class. Students know what passing periods are for. Wave them out of class without stopping your lesson for more than 1 second. And then the final option is, I don't know. Can you?
Shit. Okay, here's a fun fact about me. A lot of people think just because of my videos and stuff that I'm just this funny, energetic, blah, blah, blah teacher. But the truth of the matter was I was also kind of a dick because you have to lay the smack down if
Sure.
they're ever going to be able to understand the humor and not overdo it.
Right.
So I had to be a little bit sometimes. So I'm conflicted between the oversized comical hall pass and the saying that students know what in between periods are for.
Right.
But if I was to choose which one sings to me harder, it's definitely the oversized hall pass.
Oversized hall pass. I like it.
Mhm.
My kids for sure. Like I think I'm pretty lax, but because they're not used to like having rules and structure, they probably think I'm an absolute dick. But your opinion on field trips is
Oh,
the first
Jesus,
option.
I already know, but continue.
They are a waste of valuable learning time. Love them. So glad to give my students hands-on learning experiences. They're a huge hassle with little payoff, but if it makes my students happy, I will do them. Gets me out of school, so they're fine by me. I like showing off my knowledge of my subject area to my students. And the final option is they're a good time to socialize with other teachers and parents.
Cross between the one that said they're a huge time waster and a hassle, but if my students like it, I'll do it, and the last one, because the best part of field trips was like just hanging out with the parents, like almost as
Sure.
friends, and just being like, "What up?" And like I took my kids to a Tigers game at Comerica Park one day, and one of the parents was like, "You want to go grab a beer in the VIP lounge?" I'm like, I think I would lose a job. Do I want to? Absolutely. Are we gonna do it? No. But I'm gonna go with the one that said they're a huge hassle and waste of time. But if my
Okay.
students like it, I'll do it anyway because I loathe field trips. They're the hardest things to plan. It's a huge pain in the ass, and you do not get paid for the additional work that you do. And
Right.
typically, when you go on these field trips, you go for the whole fucking day, not the whole school day, the entire existence of those 24 hours.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Oh, God.
But, you know, and then the parents want to be a volunteer and you can't take them all, and you have to deal with that bitching. Blah, blah, blah. That one. That's my answer.
Sounds nice. I feel like I would be elated if I had one or two differences between different districts. All right, next question. It's the end of the year and your student gives you a thank you gift. What are you hoping is inside the package?
Beer, alcohol.
Yeah.
Is
Good
that an
answer.
answer?
Let's see. Oh, it's not. Should be.
That's
That would be
some
mine too.
bullshit. Yeah.
First one, chocolate. And then it says ACK. Okay. 100 number two pencils, a $50 gift card to a craft or stationery store.
What the fuck?
Right? A $25 gift card to Target, a letter talking about how my class changed their life, or
Absolutely not.
a cute knickknack for my desk. Absolutely not.
Okay. I did relish in the knickknacks for the desk. Like one student gave me what she told me was a toothpick holder, but her parents told her to call it that. It was a shot glass and it said "hit me with your best shot," and it to date was the best gift a student has ever gotten me.
That's awesome.
My principal got me a fifth of Grey Goose my first year teaching. That was pretty amazing.
Oh.
And she dressed it up like Santa. And if I was to choose any of these, which none of these are my first choice, I think I'm going to go with the Target gift card because I can actually use it on something that I want.
You don't want the number two pencils?
Fuck no.
There's 100 of them.
No, nor do I want the craft store bullshit. I'm looking for something for me, motherfuckers. God, I'm so foul on this. Please, if still follow Classroom Brew if you're listening. Don't put judgment on Ryan. Put it on me.
This is the kind of stuff they want. This is how I am on my solo episodes. Like the guest episodes are one thing, but me on a solo episode, I have a 2-drink minimum when it's a solo episode. It gets
yes.
Yeah. All right, next question. Which of these would you most likely be caught doing on the weekend? Option 1, protesting at a rally.
Single or not?
That is a factor. Protesting at a rally, working a second job. Those bills have to pay themselves somehow. Take some online courses to become a better teacher. Brunching with my teacher BFFs. Sleeping in finally, or grading late into Sunday night.
What was the second one you said?
Working a second job. Those bills have to pay themselves somehow.
Shit.
I say, yeah, comedian. That would be not to cycling coach.
Yeah, it was either that or sleeping in, but work always came first because I needed the dollars.
Right, and those asses won't get off of those bike seats without you.
Hey, let's be real. And when I first started as a cycling instructor, I was teaching like the 5 a.m. classes on Saturdays.
Oh God!
I'm like, who the fuck crazy person's gonna do this?
Did you have the Britney Spears headset?
I sure did.
Yes.
I sure did. I'll pull up some pictures for you.
Yes. So you go, oh, sorry, which one are you going with? I might have
Work.
working a second job. All right.
Yep.
I like it. All right. Almost done. What do you do when you get home after school or when you got home after school back in those days? Catch up on the news I missed at school, worry about my students, work a bit on my teacher certification, get out to coffee or drinks with fellow educators, spend some quality time with my family, or prepare dinner and do some grading.
So none of them. The true answer was sleep. I would always come home from work and just pass out for at least an hour because those little kids will just
Right.
suck all the energy out of you. So it's
Agreed.
always sleep. But if it was Friday, I did go out with staff pretty much every Friday, especially in those first like 3 years when I was a young buck.
When you had the energy.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. I like it. Yeah. As I say, when I was a kid, I could just show up to baseball practice and throw 1,000 times and be okay. I did one softball practice for our intramurals, and my right arm is dead. It's been 2 days.
I threw my back out sneezing a couple weeks ago. I'm like, life is over.
Like Sammy Sosa. He did that too, sneezing. Now, granted,
Did he really?
he had a little metabolic help to throw out his back, but you know.
Yeah, he did.
All right, next question. Where is your favorite place to get your education information? You know, aside from, of course, Classroom Brew, where we get, all the
Yeah.
Education Week. Always checking out Pinterest for free lesson plans, teacher blogs, the latest teaching journal, Google is my best friend, or NEA Today.
Google, 1,000,000%. I actually have a good joke in my set. Should I give it to you? I don't know. I kind of want to tell you. I'm gonna say that if you want to hear it, come
Let's
to the
hear
show.
it.
But it's no. I'm gonna make the listeners come to see me live.
I like it.
But it's a whole joke about basically like if you don't think that your kid's teacher doesn't Google shit the day before they teach it, you're a fucking idiot. It's so true because we do.
It is very true. Sometimes like moments before, like they're writing and they ask a really good question. You're like, yeah, let's explore that after this do now. Meanwhile, I'm going to go over to my laptop real quick and take attendance.
Again?
Yeah, again. They will keep track of when you did it and didn't do it. Now, this one I thought was very appropriate. Kind of reminded me of the first and second time that you were on Ellen. You win $5,000. What do you do with it? Yeah. Option 1, donate it to politicians who are pro-public education, pay down my student loans, use it to pay for a summer professional development course, put it back into my classroom, just put it in my savings, home ownership, here I come, or buy a new teacher wardrobe.
Which essentially is still putting it back into your classroom.
Right.
I actually did 2 things with my money. I spent half of it on paying down my student loans. Keyword down, not off. There was still a few tens of thousands to go. And then I did spend the other half on classroom stuff because I was in a very underfunded situation and didn't have anything that I needed. And none of those are both.
Yeah, I don't say, and they have check boxes, but you can only get one.
I know. I'm going to play nice guy on this one because if I had to choose one of the 2 things that I did, I truly probably still would have put it in my classroom.
Okay. I like it. I think Ellen suspected that you would do that.
Let me tell you what, when you win a big chunk of money, everybody has an opinion on how you should spend it. And I was pissed. And I was like, hey, motherfuckers, did you win the money? No, you didn't. Right. So I'll make up my own damn mind like I have my entire life. So enough. Jesus.
I love it. All right. So, okay. We got your results. Now this one.
I'm Mr. Feeney.
Mr. Feeney. That'd be a great one. I'm going to read the description and then I'm going to tell you who it is.
Okay.
It says, teaching may not be your first choice as a profession, but those kids just won your heart over. Now you prefer to spend your weekends lesson planning and worrying about keeping your students engaged. You got Mr. Cooper from Hanging with Mr. Cooper as well.
No way.
So we are both Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Coopers.
I like it. Just a couple of, we have Mr. Cooper 1 and Mr. Cooper, the plant daddy. We have that's how we'll distinguish between the 2 of us.
I'm not surprised. We do have a lot of similarities.
This is true. I feel like we'll have to do like a placebo or not placebo. Like we'll have to do like a test just to make sure that the answer isn't always like this person made the quiz, but they'd only ever seen like one pop culture teacher, and it was Mr. Cooper from.
I'll make Devin go take it. He's
There
gonna
you
get
go.
Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, right. I love it. Well, Joe, thank you so much for being on. You've got not only you have like your stand-up stuff going on, but you also have your podcast. So like where can they check everything out? You've got all the social medias, quite a big following on like TikTok and Instagram, but where can they catch you out on every single one of those things?
Okay, well, first of all my socials is just at Mr. D times 3, MRDTIMES, the number 3. You can find me there. And I'm putting out all sorts of content and this and that, so you can watch it. My podcast is called Social Studies. You can also get that anywhere where podcasts are. But the cool part is I'm actually going to be going back on the road. There is a plan for me to be back on the road in late summer or early fall. It all depends on if Miss Rona decides to cork it up and stop being such a bitch with all this virus that's going around. But here's the key. Most likely my shows are still going to be open with capacity restrictions. So if that means tickets are going to, okay, humble brag, and you know this is true, so I'm not a big-headed asshole when I say this. My shows sell out. They sell out.
Hell
like
yeah.
They almost always sell out. So if I was to tell you there's going to be capacity restrictions here, now they're really going to sell out. So if you would like to see me on the road, this is what you need to do. Text the word tour to 1-313-251-1036. That's 1-313-251-1036. Text me the word tour and you'll go right into my little tour category. And once tickets are out and available, that's who I give it to first. The people who are in that text group for touring, you'll get the ticket links. You can get in there. You can snag tickets up. And that is the best way to make sure you know. Also, you can check my website, mrdtimes3.com. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Ryan. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad to be a two-timer.
A two-time guest now. We'll get Trish on at some point too. She can, once she whips Miss Rona into shape, then we'll be good.
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Appreciate you guys and all your support. Again, check out Joe. He's everywhere. He's got amazing stuff. He's also been on the show, so if you want to check that out too, it was episode 83 or 84 or something like that. But reach me at Classroom Brew. And until next week, guys, class dismissed.